So I'm going to move on to run through the 4 most common types of intellectual property right. For each right, I'm going to answer 5 key questions. What is it and what does it protect? What can it stop others from doing? How do you get it? Who owns it? And how long does it last? So, to start with copyright. Copyright protects original literary, dramatic, musical and artistic works, including, for example, illustrations and photos. It also protects original non-literary written works, for example, software, web content and databases. Other forms of work which can be protected by copyright are sound and music recordings, or film and television recordings. There's a very low threshold for creativity or artistic merit, so the copyright can be in a very basic work, but it's important to remember that it must be original and it must be recorded in some form. It's also important to remember that one item may be protected by copyright in a number of different ways. For example, a song may have copyright in the lyrics, the music, and in the recording itself. Copyright can stop others from using your work without your permission. It can stop others copying your work, distributing copies, whether for free or for a charge. It can stop others posting it on the internet, renting or lending copies of the work, performing it, showing it or playing it in public, or authorizing someone else to do any of the above. Copyright infringement can be on the whole or a substantial part of the work, and here it's important to know that substantial part doesn't have anything necessarily to do with the size of the amount that you copy, but its distinctive quality. So for example, were you to copy a few very distinctive notes from a song, that could potentially be copyright infringement without you copying the entire work. Copyright arises automatically in the UK, and there's no need to register it. You can, if you want, mark the work with the copyright symbol, which is the C in the circle, and your name and the year of the work's creation. But this doesn't affect the level of your protection. It merely informs the public that you are claiming copyright in that work. Copyright is owned by the author of the work. In most cases, this is obvious. The person who created the work is the author. But there are some unusual ones that I thought I might share with you. For example, the author of a sound recording is the producer of that recording. Similarly, for films, the author is both the producer and principal director of the film. Also key is the fact that when an employee creates intellectual property in the course of their employment, the author of the work is not the employee but their employer. However, this does not apply to contractors. If you use a contractor to create copyright work on your behalf, you will need to seek an assignment or a license before you use that work. However, even if you do license or assign the copyright, you can choose to retain your moral rights as an author. Moral rights allow you to be identified as the author of that work, to object to how the work is presented, for example, if you think it's derogatory or damaging to your reputation, and to object to changes made to your work. So this is important in protecting your brand, even if you've licensed or assigned copyright in the work. Copyright in written, dramatic, musical and artistic works lasts for 70 years after the death of the author. For sound or music recordings, copyright subsists for 50 years from the date of the recording, or, if the work is published during that 50 years from the date of the publication. For films, copyright lasts for 70 years from the death of the last person to die from the director, the author of the screenplay or dialogue, and the composer of the score. So, to summarise, copyright can prevent others from using all or part of your work without your permission. This covers, for example, photos, logos, brochures, musical jingles, and any short films that you might make. Even if you do license the copyright in your work to other people, you can still retain moral rights to ensure that your brand is protected.